The best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Indeed it does, and great to have you with us on this Monday edition of the show. Hope you had a great holiday weekend. A lot to do over the next 60 minutes. Our friend Brian Twining from Bleacher Nation talks NASCAR with us. Shane Van Gisbergen wins his second road course of the year over in the Cup Series. We'll talk about that. Our friend Robin Lundberg will hang out with us because we are approaching the WNBA All-Star Break, and there is lots to talk about from around the W, so we will do that with our friend Robin Lundberg from Sports Illustrated, also the Robin Lundberg Show, available on YouTube. But we start things out in baseball, and let's talk about some baseball, Sam Yarnell, and get things started with something I know you probably are just chomping at the bit to talk about. Hello to our friends watching on Masson today. You are waking up to a much different day than you probably imagined when we left you on Friday, and that is the news that GM Mike Rizzo and, of course, the head coach, or the manager, I should say, Dave Martinez, out in Washington with the Nationals off to another abysmal start to the season. Obviously, expectations for this team were a little higher, but I don't know if anybody... Look, when I saw the headline, GM and manager fired, I was so excited on Sunday. I was like, it finally happened! Hal Steinbrenner snapped! The Yankees fired Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone! And then I found out it was not what I had hoped for, Sam. So I give you the floor, being the resident Nationals fan on the show. I submit to you and say, what were your thoughts, and what are your thoughts about 24 hours later?
Hello to our friends watching on Masson. Hello to my friends watching on Masson. Hello to the Nats Central community watching on Masson. Hello, everybody out there who's heard my thoughts on the matter already and has to endure them yet again. I will say, Jason, I do take the liberty in saying that, yeah, I have the right to say whatever I want about the Nationals. I'm probably a bigger Nationals fan than any of you out there watching are of any team out there, right? Not a lot of you know this. I got a tattoo with the Nationals logo. I have one tattoo on my body. It's the Washington Nationals logo. That's loser behavior on my behalf. But regardless, I digress. July 6th, 2025 goes down as an historic day in Washington Nationals history. Probably the most historic since October 31st, 2019, when the Nationals summited to the top of the Major League Baseball world. I can't say that I'm surprised by the move. I can't say that I didn't come on this show and call for these same people's jobs mere weeks ago based on the output of talent the organization has seen over the course of the last 5 years generally. There are a bazillion things you could say about the straw that broke the camel's back, and Shinosuke Ogasawara getting the start yesterday after the Nationals ink him to an overseas deal that just completely blew up in their faces the second he landed in America, seemingly. All the way to 4 earned runs through 5 batters faced yesterday against the Boston Red Sox. That to me was kind of the embodiment of the end of the Mike Rizzo era. The kind of everything that he tries to throw at the wall in this last 3 to 4 years of baseball with the Nationals has not seemed to stuck. I'm not even going to address the Dave Martinez firing. That needed to happen. The timing of that is not surprising at all. The Mike Rizzo, president of baseball operations, general manager firing is the one that is befuddling to me, baffling, and speaks more loudly to me towards the ownership group than anything. Couple of things here. So with regard to both of the contract situations of these guys, they both had club options for next year. I think a lot of people had understood that they weren't going to exercise them. But then the move from ownership becomes ever more curious. Again, I understand firing the manager or even telling the general manager he has to fire the manager from an ownership perspective. What I don't understand is replacing the president of your baseball operations department 1 week before the Major League Baseball draft, in which you hold the first overall pick, and less than a month from the trade deadline, at which, because of the record that you, the ownership group, have put yourselves in, right, you're forcing the team to become sellers yet again for the 3rd year in a row. and now you're going to have an inexperienced guy doing all these deals at the deadline. It's a head scratcher from an ownership perspective. Mike Rizzo sent a text to longtime Washington Post columnist Barry Svrluga yesterday talking about how he navigated that ownership group for almost 20 years. You're exactly right, Mike. You had a great run navigating that ownership group. I think a lot of us who are connected to the Nationals understand that you are not the problem. The problem here is the learners, right? They've explored selling this team before. They then went back on selling the team, right? Because the real estate market in DC got tough and they realized that the money may not substantiate itself should they sell their Major League ball club. This has reached a boiling point in Nationals history. Sell the team or you're looking down the barrel of 10 more years of irrelevance, the way this franchise started out, right from 2005 to 2011. That's what you're staring down the barrel of right now, Lerner organization. Sell the team. It's the only chance you have. You've made it more than clear and obvious to the entire fan base, to the entire general area of DC, Maryland, and Virginia, that you have no intentions on investing any sort of real money into this team. You're not fooling anybody by taking two guys' jobs at the top of the totem pole. The fact of the matter is, the only solution left is to sell the Washington Nationals to make them a contender again.
There you go. Sam Yarnell. And if anybody does have the right to speak on this, and the reason I didn't interrupt and the reason I let you go sort of unfettered is because you are very passionate about this organization. You were just at a game the other day. You were just out there. You paid the freight. So if anybody has the right to speak their mind on this, Sam, it is certainly you. I don't want to give short shrift to the Toronto Blue Jays, but I am. They're only getting a minute here. The Blue Jays are playing fantastic baseball right now. They are the top of the American League East at 52-38. They have completely flipped the division on its head. They've won 8 straight, 9 of 10 after sweeping the Angels this weekend, after sweeping the Yankees prior to that. Toronto's playing great baseball right now, Sam. I only am able to give them just a few seconds here. We're going to do more baseball on the other side, which does kind of dovetail into the AL East where we talk about the Yankees. But boy, Toronto is playing fantastic baseball right now.
Incredible baseball, Jason. Another team in our last few seconds that's been out of their minds lately in the NL East, the Miami Marlins. Have you seen what they've been doing? They won't stop losing or winning.
I was going to say, they won't stop winning. 40-48. Still a lot of time left in the baseball season. That's the beauty of it. We're coming back. We've got more baseball to do on the other side. The Dodgers get swept. The Yankees avoid the sweep. That's next. Welcome back to this Monday edition of Sports Wrap. Coming up in 10 minutes, my man Robin Lundberg, SI, does a great job on the WNBA with them. Also, the Robin Lundberg Show on YouTube. You can catch him on Sirius XM Radio on the weekends as well. Sam Yarnell. Interesting weekend around the rest of Major League Baseball. Start with the Dodgers, who get just annihilated by the Astros, who just keep winning. It isn't like they're... this lineup without Yordan Alvarez, they're 20 games over 500 right now. They have the second or third best record in Major League Baseball. And they go into Los Angeles this weekend and absolutely blow the doors off of the LA Dodgers. Pretty amazing stuff.
Don't look now, Jason Page, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. I know I started to last week.
Yep.
I really do think Cam Smith has a shot at the AL Rookie of the Year. The kid is playing out of his freaking mind. And on top of that, like you just said, Jason, the Astros are legitimately one of the best teams in the American League. Like, as much as we want to keep saying, as much as I want to keep saying, oh, they don't have Yordan, and this is just kind of, everything going right at the same time in the middle of July or in the middle of June into the beginning of July, and that's not necessarily the right thing for everything to go right. As much as you want to sit here and say that, the Houston Astros have not stopped losing. Like, they are playing out of their mind right now, and I do think a lot of it has to do with Cam Smith. But no, I am with you. I'm 100% bought in on the Astros. I think that you know, when we look back at this team, you know, this offseason, it's going to be, how do we not see this coming with this you know, front office and the moves that this team makes? Sure, they got rid of Kyle Tucker. Sure, they got rid of Alex Bregman. But look at how they had him replaced almost instantaneously. It's incredibly impressive stuff from a great front office compared to a incompetent one like we just talked about in the last segment.
Yeah, and look, I mean, there's no doubt. You know, you could say what you want. Oral Hershiser can cry all the sour grapes he wants about, you know, oh, I think they know. It's almost like they know what pitches are coming. Really, Oral? Really? Do better than that. I mean, you don't do the same. You don't run the same gag twice. They're not going to do this. They're not running the same gag twice, man. You find a new gag. You know, I just
didn't Oral. The funny thing about that was, didn't Oral Hershiser? He pitched for one of the Texas teams back in the day. Was it the Astros or the Rangers?
I don't remember. Might have been the Rangers. Might have been the Rangers. I'm not sure. Might have been the Rangers at the end of his career. I can't remember. I'm sure you're looking it up now, and you'll find it. What the Astros are doing right now really does blow your mind when you consider everything we talked about before the season started and sort of what we looked at in the AL West. That they are 20 games over 500 is something else. Who was it?
It was Cleveland. Was the American League team he played for?
AL
Cleveland.
Central. There you go. So look, if you're the Dodgers, don't worry about it. You're going to be fine. It's just one of those weekends for the Dodgers, who again, one of these teams that's scuffling and just battling injuries sort of as they go through the season. The Dodgers are going to be fine. As for the Yankees, I don't know how fine they will be. I was rooting for the Yankees to get swept by the Mets. I'm rooting for the Yankees to lose as many games as possible right now, which pains me to say as a Yankee fan. I'm rooting for them to lose as much as possible if it means the end of the Aaron Boone era. That's what I keep telling Yankee fans right now. All you can do is hope they lose as much as possible so that management wakes up, maybe during the All-Star break. They got the Mariners and Cubs this week. Maybe it just goes horribly wrong. Cal Raleigh hits like a zillion home runs, and it just goes off the rails. And Hal wakes up during the All-Star break and is like, you know what? We need a change. We need a new manager. And instead, what do the Yankees do? They go out and win on Max Fried Day on Sunday against the Mets. And unfortunately, it puts an end to the 6-game losing streak for the Yankees. I say unfortunately. They can't lose enough for me. They can't lose enough for me right now.
All right.
I want them to lose because they're not going to win a World Series. And if you're not going to win a World Series, then just suck and tear the scab off this thing and get rid of Aaron Boone.
All right. So
you guys are the best team. You guys are the best team in baseball. Yeah.
We talk so frequently, Jason, you and I do on this show about like across sport, and it varies sport to sport, but across sport, the only constant is parity, right? Sport to sport, the only thing that you see is teams copying each other. Teams do what other teams do, and it's really rare that they don't do what other teams do, if that makes sense. I say that because we just got done talking about a team in the Nationals who have endured an 8-game losing streak this year, endured a separate 11-game losing streak this year, right? Coming off of both of those, did not see any moves made in terms of managerial or general manager, right? So the Yankees are definitely not going to fire anybody in season when they've got a shot at making the playoffs. We'll have to, I think your only hope may be if something goes horribly wrong down the stretch and they somehow miss the playoffs. That to me is like a clear cut, all right, they got to go.
All right. We do have to give our flowers to Clay Bellinger, to Cody Bellinger. His dad is Clay. To Cody Bellinger. I'm so rattled by this whole thing. Cody Bellinger, if you did not see it this weekend, play of the weekend in Major League Baseball. Watch.
I see that pitch a little more down and away. Lined into left field. Coming on is Bellinger. And he makes the play. He fires to first. Oh, what a double play by Bellinger. Michael, you better keep screaming because this is an amazing play. First of all, to take it on the shoelaces. This ball gets by.
2-1 come to Soto. And one whacks one to left field. And Bellinger makes a brilliant shoestring catch. Lindor is doubled off first base. Wow. Bellinger with a fantastic shoestring grab, and he doubles Lindor off first. Oh, my.
I'd like to see that pitch a little more down and away.
Wow.
Looked like his MVP self.
Bellinger's played well for them. He ain't got any gripes with how Bellinger's played. The rest of the Yankees right now look like a clown car. Robin Lundberg's next. Can't lose enough for me. Cannot lose enough for me. All right, we keep things moving on this Monday edition of Sports Wrap. WNBA All-Star Game approaching. Midway point of the season. Thought as good a time as any to check in with our friend Robin Lundberg. Does a great job with SI on the WNBA, women's basketball in general. The Robin Lundberg Show available on YouTube. And also, you can catch him on SiriusXM Mad Dog Radio as well. So there he is, Robin Lundberg, hanging out with us on the program. So if I say to you, give me the headline at the All-Star break for the WNBA, it is
Caitlin Clark's injury status and in and out of the lineup. I mean, that's the headline. The headline always is going to start with Caitlin Clark if we're being real and honest about it. Right?
I thought you might be the one person that could buck that. That's what I was hoping.
But there's no bucking. I mean, it's the thing that. So when Clark was out for that first period of time, the numbers, the ratings for the league as a whole fell over 50%. So that is empirical evidence and data that backs that up. Now, the great thing about Clark's presence in the league is that there are other arguments about, like, how did Alyssa Thomas not be a starter? That argument is louder than it was, right? Or Brittany Sykes is snubbed from the team. You know, that argument is louder. And the WNBA All-Star Game, the beauty of it is that it still has juice, Jason, because, you know, all these other All-Star games have kind of become passé, but I think because the WNBA has so much newfound fandom, there's a lot of energy and excitement around it. It was the most viewed event on the season last year for the WNBA. Now, it had that built-in Clark versus the Olympian storyline, but this year it's in Indianapolis. So the Fever players, Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell will be featured, and she's going to be coached by Cheryl Reeve, the head coach of the Minnesota Lynx, who was also the head coach of Team USA back on the Olympics. So there's some full circle moments there. But yeah, I mean, look, I think Fever versus everybody was also a bit of a rallying cry that clearly has gotten through to them too. If you saw what Clark said, now she may have been celebrating a little bit, but when they won the Commissioner's Cup, she said the league is going to be sick, right? So these are not made up narratives or anything like that either.
Do they not care in Indiana as much about the regular season? Are they content with, hey, wherever we fall in the seeding, we fall. We just want her 100% and not have to worry about this groin or any other, sort of injuries popping up, that we'll take wherever we fall in the seedings just to have her at 100%, because we feel like at our best, fully healthy with her, we can beat anybody no matter where we fall, home court, no home court.
Well, yeah, I think they're there now. I think it took it. One of the things that complicated it, I believe, honestly, is that they were playing that game at Iowa in the preseason, and she had the initial tightness or whatever it was, and she sat out their first preseason game, if you remember. But that was on a Saturday, and the Iowa game was on a Sunday. So she sat out one preseason game, and then clearly, I think, felt pressured to perform in that Iowa game, and then never really got any extended rest. And then I don't think it was a coincidence. The first injury occurred against the Liberty. I was at that game, and I remember looking at the calendar. It was their third game in 5 days. And those are injury spots when the schedule is compact. That's been a storyline. Talk about another sub-headline of the story is that the schedule of the season is the schedule, and how, a bunch of players have complained about that. But so you had that, and then she came back and she had the groin issue again. And now I think they're just like, all right, let's get her to 100%. But I do expect her to play on Wednesday night against the Valkyries. I think the last game she was held out of was Saturday against the Sparks. And really what they kind of weighed there was it was a lesser opponent who they wound up losing to. But also it was a Saturday to Wednesday break between those games. So I think they have a chance to get her into practice, get her fully ramped up. And I do believe she will be back on Wednesday. And I do believe, as I mentioned before, it's important for her to play in the All-Star game. You might think that that's an exhibition, but I think, from a league, from a team standpoint, especially as the host city, it is very important for her to be a part of that.
Let me pick your brain on a couple other things. The Liberty got off to this amazing start. They were undefeated. There were even odds on them on FanDuel to go undefeated for the season, which I just thought was kind of laughable. Now they've lost 6 of 10. What's wrong with the Liberty?
Well, I mean, Jonquel Jones has not been in the lineup, and she's their best player. So that's, in my opinion, their best player. One reason when you lose to somebody of that caliber, she is big and can play inside, and is also a really good 3-point shooter. A rare combination to have that combination of size and shooting that Jones brings. Also, Leonie Fiebich was out of the lineup for a bit to play internationally, which happens during the WNBA season, who is one of the best role players in the entire league. So I think it's a combination of a few things. Their schedule was very easy to start the season, so they're playing cupcakes. They lose Jonquel Jones for an extended period of time, and they lose Leonie Fiebich for a period of time. That's 2 starters out of the lineup. I think you add those things together and you get what you saw with the Liberty.
Becky Hammon is very frustrated right now with what's going on in Las Vegas here with the Aces. And she's made it known. She's not had any problems making it known, sort of her frustrations with that team. Much like the Liberty, how do you sort of dissect what's going on right now with the Aces?
Yeah, they stink. I mean, that's what's going on with them. They don't have. How much has
the loss of Plum hurt them?
I think it hurts them a lot. I mean, Kelsey Plum, needs to be scouted, needs to be defended on the perimeter, can score and can play make a little bit. They're missing that pressure, which allows more defensive attention to go to A'ja Wilson, whose primary thing is not playmaking. She can pass the ball, but that's not her primary skill set to orchestrate an offense, right? And she's also struggled with her mid-range and shooting, which is really her bread and butter. So A'ja Wilson's in a shooting slump, which takes them down a tick. They lose Kelsey Plum, which takes them down a bunch. They are aging out with some of their other players who and they lost a lot of their depth. They lost their entire bench in the offseason. So I just honestly don't think the Aces are very good.
Minnesota 17-2. We saved the best for last. Talk to me about the Lynx and Fee and what she's done and just how good this Lynx team has been.
Well, look, I mean, this is a hungry, motivated team, a well-coached team. Obviously, Nafisa Collier, the MVP favorite. McBride is a baller. Courtney Williams is a mid-range master. They've got a lot of shooting. They play unselfish. They've got a superstar. They've got a coach. I mean, there's nothing not to like about the Lynx, and they've got a case for why they feel screwed from last year. And you know how a chip on your shoulder can go a long way in sports.
Yep, can go a long way in anything in life. Robin Lundberg does a great job. SI, YouTube. Check him out on SiriusXM as well. Always appreciate you, my friend.
You got it.
We're coming back. All right, we keep things moving on this Monday edition of the show. Brian Twining in 10 minutes talks NASCAR. Our wraparound Monday spot with him. I got some interesting thoughts. So this 7-team, 7,000 draft pick deal has been consummated. Kevin Durant is officially a Houston Rocket. He sent his goodbye text or tweet or whatever the hell it is to fans of the Phoenix Suns. And 2 things come to mind, Sam, when I watch this deal that's unfolded now. First of all, it just goes to show you as Kevin Garnett once said, anything is possible, because they found a way to get Kevin Durant to Houston with all these draft picks and all these different teams involved. It just goes to show you there really is a trade machine, and you can just put anything into it and it'll spit out things, and you can eventually get to the end result that you're looking for. So before everybody goes nuts about how could the Knicks get Giannis or how could the Knicks get LeBron, there will always be hope now, because I have now seen the scenario where anything can happen and picks can go everywhere and you get a bazillion teams involved. This is like peace in the Middle East. This is like peace in the Middle East, trying to bring 7 different teams together and picks moving all over the place. You can make anything happen. That's one. The other thing I will say on this, Sam, and the more prescient point, if you will, and I don't know if people realize this about Kevin Durant. The window for the Rockets is next year. It's 1 year. That's it. They've got next year with Kevin Durant to make this work. Because if you've watched now the lifespan of Kevin Durant's career, what have we learned? If it doesn't happen in year 1, it usually goes pretty bad. Go and look at his career. Go and look at the timelines. If it doesn't happen right away, it tends to not happen. There usually tends to be, some finger pointing or blame on a head coach, which shouldn't happen in this case because they've got a great coach in Ime Udoka. But if it doesn't happen in year 1 for Kevin Durant in Houston, I suspect it won't happen. And this thing will wind up being a failure as far as the Kevin Durant aspect of it. And that's not to say, and by failure, I mean, by the way, it's really championship or bust when you make the sort of move they've made now. The expectations have risen, not to this team being a conference championship or anything of that nature. It is championship or bust when you go and make a move like this. 7 teams, a bunch of draft picks, you trade off, some good young players in order to bring in a Kevin Durant. You got 1 year, because if in that first year it doesn't go well, you're Mike Budenholzer or you're somebody else whose fault it is. It's always somebody else's fault. It's never Kevin Durant's fault. I think they've got 1 year in Houston to make it happen, and it better be next year.
It is. I don't know if I'd be willing to say that they have a 1 year long window. But, they do need to make significant noise. I agree with you on that. Let's not forget, this is a team that finished second in the Western Conference without Kevin Durant last year. And I know they're getting rid of Jalen Green, and I know Jalen Green is good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to undersell Jalen Green here. Obviously, the guy just got traded for Kevin Durant. That's obviously worth something. But, does that Rockets team last year without Jalen Green still finishes as a 4 or 5 seed, then add Kevin Durant? I'm comfortable with where this team is at in terms of making this move and still having a cushion on the back end. They've got so much. They've still got young talent in one of the best young defenders in the league in Thompson, right? Alperen Şengün is still an up-and-coming big man. Let's not forget about Jabari Smith. The Rockets are going to be a very interesting case study next year on what it can be like when you bring a superstar into a very talented young core that doesn't have that one emerging player, i.e. a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or a Tyrese Halliburton, right? That one player that emerges as a superstar. This is injecting that pre-established superstar into a very talent-laden young roster. So I think that it's almost a unique experience that the 2025-6 Rockets are going to have, and I'm very interested to just see how it all goes to kind of assess teams making similar moves going forward after this year.
He's going to be 37 years old when this next NBA season starts, Sam. So you're talking about his age 37 season. And I'm trying to think. I was racking my brain while I was listening to you pontificate. I was racking my brain trying to think of the last time we've seen a team bring in a star that old. I'm trying to think of the last time we saw a team in this position, that one player away mentality idea way, bringing a guy that old that wound up being the difference maker and making them a championship team. I can't think of one off the top of my head. I can't.
LeBron was close with the Lakers.
Yeah.
He was 36 when he signed with the Lakers?
That'd probably be the closest.
But I will say, on the other side of that, if you're trying to put the 2019 Lakers and the 2024 Rockets in the same conversation, you're doing a disservice to yourself. So you're right. I don't know.
It's hard to do. It's what I'm saying. It's difficult to do. And they got one, again, I feel like if it doesn't happen for them this year, you're going to be left sort of trying to figure out, all right, what do we do now with Durant and this young group of players? A lot of finger pointing. We'll see. NASCAR next. Odds and Ends wraps it up in 10 minutes. But first, some NASCAR. Make a pit stop with our friend Brian Twining. Yeah, I did the corny NASCAR pun. Does a great job. Bleacher Nation joins us on location in Chicago, where he was checking out the road course event this weekend out there. Where, well, look, Abe Froman is no longer the king of Chicago. It is clearly Shane Van Gisbergen that is the king of Chicago. Brian, as he wins back-to-back road course races there. He wins his second in a row this season. And here's what I'm not going to keep beating to death this whole thing about Shane Van Gisbergen and whether or not he should be, granted access to the playoffs based on the fact that he's a one-trick pony that can only win road course races. I'm not going to say that. Instead, here's what I am going to ask. And you follow the sport much more heavily than me. Has NASCAR ever thought about just doing a road course series?
That's a really good question. I don't know
why
if that's
not?
something.
If it's popular and people like it, why not just do a road course series?
Yeah, I think that's probably just something they've maybe thought about in the past, but not something that traditional fans would have kind of gravitated towards because we already have Indy. And I wonder if there's some sort of conflict between Indy and NASCAR if NASCAR were to try to go on the roads primarily.
Yeah, I don't know. I get, because there's a great spot for Shane Van Gisbergen because he's obviously very talented in this discipline, but he's a mediocre otherwise NASCAR driver in the Cup Series. He's a middle tier, middle of the road. You're never going to pick him to win anything every week. So go ahead.
So to counter that, people have to also remember Shane Van Gisbergen comes from a series that never raced ovals. This is only like his really second year in NASCAR, and he's already shown improvement on some of the hardest tracks in the sport. He said yesterday in his post-race press conference, when I asked him about preparation for the playoffs, that he's excited to go back to Darlington. That's his favorite oval. That's a track that even veteran NASCAR drivers still haven't been able to figure out because of the tire wear situation and getting up close to the wall and clipping the wall. So I don't think people give Shane enough credit for how quickly he's actually adapted to NASCAR and the fact that he's already the best in a discipline in the sport.
Break down this race. He wins. He led for 26 laps. Chase Briscoe was up there for a while. Michael McDowell was up there for a while. Van Gisbergen sweeps the weekend. But talk about some of the other guys that were sort of in the mix here.
Yeah, I think Michael McDowell having another equipment failure was really just what a horrible way to end the weekend because he looked like he was going to be Shane's main competition. I think he'll be one of the favorites going into Sonoma next week. And then, Tyler Reddick at the end, this is the third straight year where he even acknowledged after the race that he's had a tire advantage at the end of the race, and he just ran out of time to get to the front and win the race, as we all saw with Cody Ware going nose deep into a tire barrier and NASCAR deciding to wait a full 40 seconds before throwing the caution.
God. Yeah, what was that about? Help me understand, because the second he hits the barrier, they're not going to let the drivers go past, in that final lap. If you're going to throw up the caution, why not throw it up right away?
Yeah, so there's a lot of speculation that NASCAR was waiting for Shane to take the white because rain was imminent. It was coming. I mean, there was like a fog haboob coming over the city during that time. So NASCAR
I did not have fog haboob in the show today. Thank you. Okay.
But I found it really interesting that they referenced Kyle Larson's situation last year when he went into the tire pack and was able to get it rolling. But when you go back and you watch that, they threw the caution immediately in that situation, and his car was still on. Cody Ware's was not. So I don't know. It's just another example of just not consistent officiating, I guess, and that's all we're kind of asking for fans.
Yeah, the lack of consistency is certainly something that is perplexing. I mean, you look at Shane Van Gisbergen right now. He could be a 3-time winner this year. I mean, would you pick against him next week?
Yeah, there's a lot of people. We're already talking about this. He could tie for the most wins on the season and be, second or third in the playoff standings as we sit here with 6 races to go in the regular season. So, if you go back a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about these Shane Van Gisbergen championship future and the fact that we have a road course in the playoffs in the round of 12. Shane Van Gisbergen making a championship 4 appearance is not so far-fetched.
Who is the biggest loser coming out of Chicago? And I say loser in quotations.
It's probably Michael McDowell. I just think that this was his first real opportunity to get the win because he started up front and he took the lead from Van Gisbergen. And at road courses, having control of the race is where you want to be, more so than on ovals. And the fact that he wasn't able to even compete for a win, it has had to have been the biggest letdown so far this year.
When you look at the playoff standings right now, Bubba's third. You look at where Bubba is coming out of this race, and obviously there was some drama with him in here. Give me a sense in the last 30 seconds here of who really has to sort of watch where they are right now.
Yeah, I think Bubba falls into that category. Alex Bowman, somebody else who, he's still trying to fight for in there. And then Chris Buescher, too. RFK had a bunch of issues outside of Ryan Preece, obviously, but Chris Buescher having a mechanical issue there. So, yeah, playoffs are going to be really difficult, but I don't think we're going to see any weird winners.
I'll say this. Kyle Busch has fought himself back into a respectable spot, too.
He has. He's been good, but the road courses are kind of where he's still good at.
Yeah, certainly has helped him at least put himself back into a position where of respectability. Brian Twining, always appreciate it.
Yep, thanks, Jason.
Okay, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Monday. Tomorrow on the show, All-Star snubs in baseball. Who got it the worst? We'll get into that. All right, some reminders. First of all, if you have not done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. It is an audio version of this show, Monday through Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, commercial-free. It's basically 45 minutes long. It's great for the ride to work, while you're in the shower, while you're on the treadmill, trains, planes, automobiles, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to go and subscribe to that today. We also have the Sports Wrap with Jason Page show, this TV show, available in other ways. You can watch it on Spotify. You can also watch it over on our YouTube channel, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. Go and subscribe to that. We also have Sports Wrap Shorts available there. Clips from the show, sometimes clips not from the show because news is always breaking. And when it does, we have it covered for you with Sports Wrap Shorts. Go and check those out at your convenience as well. Make sure to subscribe. It is free to do so. And without any further delay, ladies and gentlemen, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, it feels like we're on a collision course as of the time we are putting the show together. just before noon on Monday. It feels like we are on a collision course for a Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz final at Wimbledon. The fly in the ointment there is obviously Novak Djokovic. His match is literally going on as I speak into this microphone. So who knows? He could be out. He could be in. By the time you watch this show, you'll know his fate. He's taking on Alex de Minaur. Looking like they're heading to a fifth set in their match. We'll obviously have a full recap on the show on Tuesday of everything going on out at Wimbledon. Sinner is also in action on Monday, so we'll keep you posted on what's going on there. But it feels like if you've watched this tournament so far, that's sort of where we're headed. Alcaraz was beaten in one set by Andres Rublev yesterday, but other than that, has looked pretty much in command in this tournament. I think he's dropped a couple of sets in the tournament so far, just sort of coasting through the first week of Wimbledon. And then Jannik Sinner blew through Pedro Martinez in his match yesterday as he continues to roll. And look, these are the two guys that are clearly above everybody else in this field. And until somebody shows me otherwise, I have no reason to believe those aren't going to be the two guys meeting up in the finals. I'm not sure what the odds are on them right now. I could look it up on the fly. We'll do that. I don't normally do this on the fly, but we'll do it anyway. You can go and look this stuff up and see who you think is going to wind up winning Wimbledon. Alcaraz right now plus 120 to win Wimbledon. Jannik Sinner plus 130. You can get Djokovic at 6-1, by the way. Plus 600. So if you're looking for some value, that might be the place to go. After that, a couple of Americans, Taylor Fritz and Ben Shelton, but their odds are just so out of whack. It's hard to believe either of those two could wind up winning. Elsewhere in the NBA, there is another trade that took place. We talked about the Kevin Durant deal earlier in the show. Well, the Clippers, Jazz, and Heat have agreed to a trade, according to Shams Charania over at ESPN. Norman Powell to Miami, John Collins to Los Angeles, Kevin Love and Kyle Anderson, and a 2027 Clippers second-round pick going to Utah. Powell, last year with the Clippers, played 60 games, averaged almost 22 points a game, made 42% of his threes. Love nearing the end of his career. Collins averaged 19 points and 6 rebounds in 40 games last year for the Jazz. Love obviously nearing the end of his career. We'll see what he does in Utah. Last but not least, this is something you never want to see if you're an NFL team during the offseason, especially as we get closer to the start of training camps. And there it is. Cowboys kick returner Kevontae Turpin, an all-pro kick returner, in fact, arrested on Saturday, facing 2 misdemeanor charges according to online records. The 28-year-old facing charges of possession of marijuana for less than 2 ounces and unlawful carrying of a weapon. Now, I gotta say this. I've seen some people reacting to this story, and the initial reaction I see is, wow, people still get arrested for marijuana? If you're doing that, you're sort of burying the lead. Because, yeah, we could all kind of chuckle at the fact that in the year 2025, there are still states that punish people for having marijuana. The bigger charge here is unlawful carrying of a weapon. He was driving 97 miles per hour in a 2022 Dodge in a zone with a 70 mile per hour speed limit. In the incident report, police said a 9mm pistol was in plain view in the back of the vehicle and then marijuana in the center console. You want to get upset about something? Don't get upset about the marijuana. Get upset about the fact the guy had a pistol just sitting in the back of his Dodge. That's something to be a little more concerned about if you're a fan of the Cowboys and Kevontae Turpin. Take from that what you may. That's how we wrap up today's show. Thank you to our guests, Robin Lundberg, Brian Twining, Sam Yarnell for hanging out with us as well. Thanks to you for watching. Good to be back with you after the 3-day weekend. Hopefully your battery is recharged. I know mine is. We'll see you back here on Tuesday for more Sports Wrap. I'm Jason Page. See ya.